Hey, welcome back to another session of discussing how to grow your business effectively and efficiently. Today we're going to talk about streamlining the communication process and actually how to delegate and elevate some of your people within your company, as well as keeping a constant form of contact with your customers so everybody's on the same page, there's no confusion. The last thing you want is to get in a situation where it's a he said, she said, or even worse is no response at all. That can be detrimental to you and obviously have a highly negative effect on you and your customer's relationship. The first thing that you want to do is set up some effective channels for efficient communication. Email is great just because it keeps a log of what everyone within the project has done for the entirety of the project. So there's no going back on a phone conversation of, oh, well, he said this or he said that, or a face-to-face conversation of he said this or he promised this and this is where we're at and this is what he said he would do. So having that effective line of communication and having it documented well helps out a ton. So with our sales team, what we have is within our contracts, that's the scope of work that we are saying that we are going to do for that customer's project. It may not be everything that the customer wants us to do because some of those services we just don't offer in-house. So that's why the contract's important, and it states exactly what's going to be done within that person's project. Once we have a contract and we start the project, we utilize daily logs to document what took on that day, what conversations happened between our project foreman and that customer, and if there's any issues that arise. So that's highly important as well, because we want to, if there are issues on projects, and don't act like there's not going to be, whenever issues arise, you want to be able to take care of them quickly, and you want to come up with the right solution as promptly as possible for that customer, as well as your project and your profitability of the project for your company. So having that streamlined communication is going to be highly effective. The next thing that we're going to discuss is having that some sort of realistic expectations for timelines. Timelines can be very tricky, especially if you have multiple crews with multiple people having multiple skill sets. Having one crew, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, you kind of know the timeline that you can expect for a project to be completed and the various stages within that project. One thing that we run into is running into a crew that has one type of capability or specialty in knowledge of installing one thing versus another one. So like our poly crew, they couldn't go do a piering project and expect the same timeline like our piering crews couldn't go and do a poly project and we have the same expectation of timeline on that. So knowing and understanding your crews is going to be highly effective for you to give your customer a very accurate timeline for the duration of their project. Now, obviously, in our line of work, a lot of it's below ground. We can't see what's going to be underneath the soil conditions and stuff like that. So there are variables that arise within our scope of work, but every now and again, those will come up. The best thing you can do and the most effective thing you can do is be honest. Tell the customer, hey, this is what's happening. It's going to delay the project X amount of days. And honestly, if you can give yourself an extra buffer day and you can finish earlier, that makes you look that much better. People like when people finish early versus you promise a date and then something else comes up and then you have to extend it out again, or nothing else comes up and you just weren't able to complete on that end date. It just looks way better with giving yourself a buffer. So always give yourself at least a day or two buffer depending on the size of the project. And then the last thing that we're going to talk about is having effective collaboration and delegation with your employees. Making sure everybody's on the same page is going to be the number one key to having a successful business, successful project, and successful customer relations. You can't do it all yourself as an owner. Like, you just can't physically do it. There's not enough hours in the day and you will go absolutely insane. But if you're a micromanager, then maybe this style of company is not for you. Maybe you're better off being a one-man band an owner-operator, whatever it is. Because you haven't and you don't trust employees, that way, that then prohibits you from delegating to employees. So having that open-minded communication with your employees and with the customers, knowing what you're delegating to people with their skill set, what you're going to take on yourself, is highly effective as a leader of a company. All right, to sum everything up, customers that have been communicated very well with understand the project timeline as well as the payment timeline. So that's going to help you collect payments at the end of the projects, during the projects, everything like that. And lastly, if you're not fit out to delegate to employees, then you're probably not fit to actually build out an actual company, and you're better off being an owner-operator or one-man band, doing whatever it is in the construction industry. Until next time, guys, here's to never settling for shitty management or communication strategies within your company.